Good morning. Today is Peanut's due date and she's pulled fur and there are kits moving in that box. Peanut. Oh, good mommy. So when it is Rabbit's due dates, I always come out and take a look at their box before I do anything else, because and I had a feeling she was gonna go on her due date, because last night she was acting a little bit odd. So look at the fur. She pulled all this beautiful fur. You can see the kits moving. Oh, the other rabbits are going crazy. So the kits are in there. Peanut, good mommy. You did such a good mommy job. Peanut gets her food first. You can see, oops, she is like immediately tearing up her food. I made sure she had a full bowl last night also. Because when rabbits give birth, just like with us, it takes a lot of energy. So I made sure she had food. Okay, so I brought Peanut a piece of a pepper. These are peppers we grow. It's a Lucia. Peanut, you want the pepper? She might not really want it. Here. You want this? She's eating. Here, Peanut. Come over here. You're nutty. I'm just gonna kind of take her away from her box, so because I need to pull the box out. I'm gonna shove her booty a little bit. She's not gonna be. I'm sorry, Peanut. And I'm gonna pull this whole entire box out. And I'm gonna take it inside and I'm gonna check the kits. The first thing, there's a little tiny bit of blood. The first thing you want to do is make sure there's no kits in the cage. I'm going to take this box inside and we are going to check these kits. Okay, so the first thing when you're checking kits is wash your hands. You don't want dirty hands. Second, I'm going to check the nest area. Look at these big pieces of fur. She just did such a good job. There's a little bit of blood. That's okay. And I'm just gonna pull the fur back like this and see who's in here. Look, Peanut had her kits. So here I just have a bowl with it, and I put a towel in it. And this I'm gonna count the kits, because they will wiggle around. So I'm going to come in the nest. Oh, they look good. And here's one, and what I'm checking for is a round belly to make sure they're fed. And then I'm going to check the whole entire box. The whole entire box, because she pulled a lot of fur. What a good mommy. You can get a kit that hides, and you don't want them to be separated. So I'm checking this whole entire box. It's important that you do this, especially if it's cooler out, because you don't want a kit separated from the rest. And I'm just gonna make sure there's no kits hiding or that got separated, because sometimes after birth, while she's giving birth, a kit will go in like a corner or something like that. And I'm gonna pull up the hay and just check that there's no kits. There's no kits hiding. So that is good. Peanut did a really, really good job. I have all the kits out. I'm going to weigh them. I'm gonna do an initial weigh. So I'm gonna zero out my scale. I'm gonna weigh one, and when I'm done weighing it, I'm gonna put it back in its nest. They all look like daddy. 2.3 ounces. And you can see when you're checking kits, this is what you want to look for. A round belly like this. You don't want this to be sunken or pinched. You want them to be nice and round. And you want to make sure they're all moving and that they're all alive. So they're all wiggling and moving. That's what you want to look for. You don't want to have any kits that look lethargic or that are actually dead. It's very important that you do an initial check once the kits are born. As soon as you realize that your rabbit has had kits, 2.1, you need to go in and check. Honey, last time she had her kits at like 12 in the afternoon. I gave her time. As soon as she jumped out of the box and was out of her box, that's when I went in and I took her box and I checked the kits. I checked them right away. It was about an hour after birth. Because if they have a dead kit, that kit will turn into an ice cube very quickly. And it can chill and kill all the other kits. So this is why it's really important you do a check. You also want to make sure that all the kits are in the box. You don't want any kits on the wire or that have fallen out of the box. 2.5, you're a chunker. Look at this little chunky. They all look like daddy. Oh my gosh. So we had a New Zealand. I no longer have him. We had a Steel New Zealand. And he was a great rabbit. But I just had way too many bucks, and I'm getting further away from my New Zealand program, so I regret selling him now. But he is the sire, and he's a Steel. So a lot of his kits actually end up being Steels. Like, these babies look black, but they are probably not true black. They are probably Steels. Okay guys, first of all, it's loud out here. They decided to like start doing construction across the street, so it's a little bit loud, but I wanted to come finish this video real quick. So I wanted to talk real quick about some myths about checking kits and why it's important to check kits. So the first thing I'm gonna go over is a couple myths. The biggest myth that I hear, even from people that like have rabbits and have had rabbits kindle, is that if you check the kits, you touch the nest, that the mom will eat the kits or reject them. This is not true. The mom will not eat the kits because you touch them. Reasons your doe might have eaten their kits. Sometimes first-time moms just don't know what's going on. They get confused, there's something new in their space, and they eat their kits. I would always give this doe a second chance. Sometimes first time moms make mistakes. That sun is so bright. Another reason your doe might eat their kits is because of genetic issue. If you find a partially eaten kit, or one day you had 9 kits and the next day you have 8, and you can't find that kit anywhere, like it didn't fall out, mom might have eaten it because there was something fatally wrong with it. So she gets rid of the body in order to protect the rest of the litter. Another reason they might eat their kits is a predator issue. If you know you have a predator issue, or you might not know you have a predator issue, they will sometimes eat their kits because they feel threatened and they want to protect their home. So by having kits, they feel like it'll draw more predators. So they will eat their kits to protect themselves. Another reason they might eat their kits is stress. It could be a care issue, it could be a personality issue. Some rabbits get really stressed out. So that would be another reason. But they will not eat their kits just because you touch them. It's really important to check the nest box as soon as you realize there are kits. So Honey kindled around 12 o'clock in the afternoon with her last litter a couple weeks ago. I saw she was in her nest box and she was kind of like moving around and bending over. So I figured she was having her kits. I gave her about an hour to give birth, to clean them up, to feed them. And then once she jumped out of her nest box and was out of her nest box for a while, I came out and I pulled the nest box and checked the kits. With Peanut, and this is what will happen most often, you'll come out in the morning and there will be fur and kits. A lot of times rabbits have their kits very, very early in the morning before the sun comes up, and sometimes overnight, or sometimes like at dusk. These are popular times for rabbits to kindle. So if you come out in the morning and you find that your doe kindled, it's important to check their kits. What we do here is I pull the whole entire nest box out. If it's a nice day, I will check them right here at the table outside. If it's cold or really hot, I'll take them inside and I'll check them inside. I took them inside this morning, which you saw, because it was a little bit chilly out and I don't want the kits to get chilled at all. So it's important to check your nest and your kits right after they're born to, one, make sure that all the kits are in the box. You don't want to come out and have kits on the wire or have one kit on the wire. So you want to make sure they're all in the box. 2, you want to count your kits. You want to confirm how many kits are in the box, how many kits they kindled. So that way when you do your subsequent checks, you'll know how many kits you're looking for and if a kit is missing. 2, you want to make sure that they're all alive. Sometimes they'll have a stillborn. Sometimes a kit will just die shortly after birth. Sometimes a kit will just die suddenly for no apparent reason. The kit is left in there for a period of time. They turn into an ice cube very fast and they can chill and kill the rest of your litter. So it's important to check and make sure everyone is alive. Also, if you don't check your box for a couple days and there is a dead kit in there that you don't know about, that the mom didn't eat, sometimes they'll just eat them if they die. But sometimes their teeth, because they have those teeth, they cannot pick up their kits like a cat or a dog can. That's why if a kit falls out of the box, they can't put it back in. So if a kit dies in there, the only way for them to get rid of that kit from the rest of the litter is to eat them. They can't pick them up and carry them out. But if you leave a dead kit in there and they haven't done anything with it and it's in there a couple of days, it'll start to rot and it'll start to smell. And it'll attract a lot of flies and it can attract predators with the scent. So that's why it's important to make sure there are no dead kits. So you want to make sure all the kits are in the box and they're together. If you find a stray like in another part of the box, I just put it back in with the rest, like in the little group. You want to make sure they pulled enough fur to keep them warm and that they're covered up if it's cold. You want to make sure there are no injuries or dead kits. And then you can also take this opportunity to weigh them and mark them if you want. Like we have 9 black kits, so I can't tell them apart. I probably won't mark these, I'll just weigh them as a group. Another thing you want to make sure is no injuries. You can get an overzealous mom sometimes that when cleaning their kits, they can lick off an ear or nibble off an ear or a foot or a tail, or lick their skin off. They go a little crazy when they're cleaning them. So you want to treat any of the injuries you find and make sure none are injured. Thankfully, Peanut is our 3rd doe who was a first-time mom this summer. Both Lady B and Janice Hopland were also first-time moms, and they all did amazing. They all built their nest, they all pulled fur, they all had their kits right on day 31, and all of their kits survived. Like I didn't have none of their kits were faders, none of their kits died. All of their kits have been doing amazing. So I got lucky because they were all first-time moms. But sometimes, especially with first-time moms, they can get overzealous when cleaning. You want to check your kits at least once a day. We check our kits at least twice a day here. I do a full check in the morning where I'll pull the whole nest box out and I'll look every single kit over. And then in the evening, I'll just do a quick check and I'll just stick my hand in and feel each single kit to make sure it's warm, it's fed, and it has all its little pieces. The number one thing you want to look out for when you're checking your kits is that they have a full round belly and that they're fed. Some people will put like a piece of straw or something on top of the fur, and if that piece of straw is moved, then they know that the mom went in and she fed them and she took care of them. I personally like to look at each and every kit, because even if they went in and fed them, there could have been one that just didn't make it in time. They really only go and feed their kits once or twice a day for about 5, maybe 10 minutes. You may not ever see them feed their kits. You don't need to be concerned if you don't see them. You just want to make sure they have full fat bellies. Sorry, I'm trying to make this fast because of the construction. If you never see them feeding the kits, you don't have to worry as long as they have full round fat bellies. If they start to have sinking bellies, or they look skinny or lethargic, that's when you should probably start being concerned. I am going to be watching her kits carefully because she had 9 kits and rabbits only have 8 nipples. So a lot of the time they do not make sure every single kit gets fed. They will jump in the box, they might nuzzle them to let them know they're here, it's eating time, and then they just stand there and the kits have to wiggle up to eat. But they don't check that every single kit has eaten, and sometimes you'll have like a runt that just cannot or has trouble fighting against their litter mates to get to a nipple. So especially if you have larger litters, bigger than 8, you probably need to watch a little bit more carefully, since rabbits only have 8 nipples. And a lot of times if they have more than 8 kits, like a lot more, like 12 or 15, you'll have faders in those first few days. Some people will take those faders and take mom. You can separate them and let those babies eat, but you would have to do that twice a day, every day. So that is an option. We normally breed 2 does at a time, just to make sure if the doe dies for some reason in childbirth, or we have large litters, that we have someone else to foster off to. So if you have a doe that you know has 15 kits and they normally have a fader, you can take another doe that you know only has 3, 4, or 5 kits, and if they're a good mom, you can take those extra kits and foster them off. If she ends up only having small litters, I might not necessarily get rid of her in case next time Peanut ends up having 12 kits. So I would make sure to always breed them together, so I would have another doe to foster those kits off to. I just wanted to go over those few things. But here's her nest. You can see the kits moving in there. So when I see fur in the nest, that's the first thing I look for, is movement. Since Peanut was a first-time mom, I wasn't sure if she was gonna pull fur and then not have her kits. So if you don't know what your doe's behaviors are, kindling behavior is, that's the first thing to look for when you see fur in the nest, is for movement. If you see movement, there are kits in there. That was my really quick little rant. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.